The Heartland Ranch has always been a place of family, love, and hard work. But today, a letter from Jack changes everything. Secrets buried for years are about to explode, and the people you thought you knew are about to be tested like never before. The sun rises over Heartland Ranch, casting golden light across the fields and grazing horses. The soft sound of morning birds mixes with the distant hum of the barn as Tim and Lou go about their usual chores. Tim is fixing a fence, while Lou carefully feeds the horses, each movement steady, familiar, and calm. There is laughter in the background as Amy's voice is faintly heard, calling to Ty. Though the scene remains faceless, showing only hands, boots, and silhouettes. Everything seems peaceful, the kind of morning that makes the ranch feel timeless. But beneath the calm, there is a subtle tension. A mail truck rumbles down the dirt path. A letter is dropped at the front porch. It's plain except for a name written in familiar, elegant handwriting. Jack. Tim pauses mid-swing, his hands frozen on the hammer. Lou turns, sensing that something is off. The envelope is heavier than it looks. The camera focuses on the envelope. In Tim's hand, as he hesitates for a moment, a shadow of concern crossing his faceless posture. The viewer can feel that this is not just a normal piece of mail. This is a turning point. Text appears on screen as the envelope is held. Jack's last will. A faint sound of wind and the subtle beat of suspenseful music builds, creating an almost unbearable tension. Tim and Lou exchange glances, though we don't see their faces. Their body language says it all. This is a moment of uncertainty, a moment where everything they've relied on could shift. The horses look up, sensing the sudden change in energy, their ears twitching nervously, silent reflection of the ranch's unease. The camera pans slowly across the barn, as the tools and the fields, as if showing the life they have built. A voiceover begins. The ranch has stood through storms, through heartbreak, and through generations. But nothing prepared them for this. Jack's will would shake the very foundation of Heartland. The music swells, punctuating the suspense as the scene shifts back to Tim and Lou, who now carefully open the envelope. The paper crackles in their hands, each fold increased magnified, emphasizing the weight of the moment as the first page unfolds. The camera zooms in on key phrases, text overlays highlight to the person you least expect. The ranch must go to, creating instant intrigue. The audience can feel Tim and Lou's shock and curiosity, even without seeing their expressions. The scene alternates between close-ups of the paper, the ranch surroundings, and the subtle, tense movements of Tim and Lou. Every element works together to make the viewer feel the looming storm of secrets about to hit Heartland. The section ends with the suspenseful beat of music slowing down as Tim sets the letter on the table. Lou takes a deep breath, gripping her hands together, a subtle tremor in her stance. The camera lingers on the envelope for a few seconds, letting the audience anticipate the explosive revelations that are about to follow. Text fades in. Everything is about to change. The tension is palpable. Setting the stage for the shocking moments to come in the next section, the envelope sits on the old wooden table, the morning light falling across it like a spotlight. Tim's hands hover over the paper, tense, hesitant, as if touching it could somehow change the words inside. Lou leans closer, her posture rigid, shoulders tight, and even without seeing their faces, the tension radiates. Slowly, Tim opens the letter. The crisp sound of paper breaking the quiet of the ranch is louder than the distant hum of the wind in the fields. Every fold unfolds a secret that was meant to stay buried. The camera focuses on the first few lines. Jack's handwriting is unmistakable, elegant, yet deliberate. As Tim reads, the words hit like a thunderclap. To my family, my ranch, my legacy. The viewer can feel the weight of Jack's intentions through text overlay and dramatic music. Key phrases flash on screen. The ranch is to go to, not as you expect. Decisions I've made will change everything. The ambiguity builds suspense, leaving the audience on the edge of their seat. Lou steps back slightly, one hand pressing against the table, as if bracing herself. The camera cuts to a close-up of her hand trembling, emphasizing her shock. The horses in the background shift uneasily, sensing the tension. Facelessly, the ranch itself feels like it's holding its breath. Tim's grip tightens on the letter, his body stiff, shoulders hunched, eyes focused entirely on the words. The viewer feels the weight of his thoughts. Who did Jack trust? Why these choices now? Flashbacks silently weave into the scene, showing faceless glimpses of Jack through old photographs, his hands on the reins, his laughter echoing in the barn. The contrast between past warmth and present shock amplifies the drama. A voiceover underscores the moment. Jack's final words are more than just instructions. They are a test of loyalty, love, and the bonds that hold Heartland together. The camera pans over the ranch once more, the fields, the barn, the horses, all unchanged on the surface. Yet beneath it everything feels fragile. Tim slowly exhales, placing the letter down. Lou's body language shifts from disbelief to a subtle tension of anger. Text overlays appear. Betrayal? Surprise air? Everything is at stake. The suspense grows as the audience begins to speculate. Who could Jack have chosen? How will Tim and Lou react? Visuals of their faceless forms, juxtaposed with the calm ranch, highlight the brewing storm. The section closes with a close-up of a letter on the table. The words, "The ranch must go to someone unexpected." Lingering on screen, dramatic music swells and fades, leaving the audience with a sense of anticipation and shock. The ranch feels quiet, yet the tension is almost audible, as if the land itself senses the chaos about to unfold. Text appears, "The Heartland they knew is gone, the real test begins." The moment the words sink in, the calm of the ranch shatters. Tim drops the letter onto the table, the paper sliding across the wood with a sharp, echoing sound. His hands are clenched into fists at his sides, knuckles white, his body rigid with disbelief. Lou steps back, her chest rising and falling faster than usual. One hand gripping the edge of the table while the other hovers as if to shield herself from the sudden emotional storm. Facelessly, their tension is tangible. The ranch feels smaller, suffocating with the weight of the revelation. The camera shifts between over-the-shoulder shots, showing glimpses of their movements. Tim paces a few steps, boots thudding against the floor, each step punctuating his growing frustration.
Ow.
Lou crosses her arms tightly, her body facing away from him, a wall of defensiveness forming. Text overlays appear. Why now? Now. Could he? This changes everything. Their emotions are raw and unfiltered, even without showing their faces. And the faceless storytelling allows viewers to project themselves into the intensity of the moment. Tim finally stops and slams his hand onto the table, sending the letter skidding slightly again. The sound resonates through the quiet ranch, startling the horses in the nearby stall. Lou flinches but doesn't step back, her stance hardening. The music crescendos subtly, reflecting the tension that words alone cannot express. Overlaid text emphasizes key thoughts: betrayed, confused, angry. Each word pulses in sync with the background score, letting the audience feel the storm inside both of them. The scene shifts briefly to close-ups of their hands and subtle gestures, Tim running his fingers through his hair, Lou's hands tightening into fists at her sides. A faceless shot of their shadows stretches across the barn floor, elongated and tense, symbolizing the emotional distance growing between them. A voiceover breaks the silence. The will was never just paper, it was a spark, igniting anger, confusion, and questions they weren't ready to answer. A dramatic moment of silence follows. Tim leans over the table, pointing at the letter without touching it, his body rigid with disbelief. Lou recoils slightly, a pause in her movements. Betraying her inner turmoil? Overlaid text flashes. This isn't just about the ranch. It's about everything we thought we knew. The music softens momentarily, letting the weight of the silence amplify the tension. The audience can almost hear their racing hearts and unspoken thoughts. The camera cuts to the surroundings. The barn, the fields, the horses, still calm, yet ominous. Even nature seems to hold its breath, mirroring the human drama unfolding inside. Tim finally whispers, facelessly captured, I don't know if we can fix this. Lou's posture stiffens further, responding without words. The tension between them is palpable, unspoken. Yet it screams across the ranch. The section ends with a lingering shot of the envelope lying on the table between them. Untouched but deadly, a symbol of the chaos now reigning over Heartland. A text appears. On screen, Tim and Lou's world has shifted, but the storm is only beginning. The music fades to a low, suspenseful hum, leaving viewers with a sense of impending conflict and urgency. The calm of the morning has evaporated, placed by an electric tension that flows through every corner of Heartland Ranch. Facelessly, Amy's hands grip the edge of the kitchen counter as she peers at the letter Tim placed there moments ago. Ty leans against the doorway, arms crossed, his posture tense, shoulders rigid with disbelief. Even the air feels heavier, thick with anticipation and unspoken questions. The camera pans over faceless gestures, hands pointing, slight shakes of the head, the subtle fidgeting of someone trying to process an impossible truth. A voiceover begins, calm yet loaded with suspense. When Jack's last will is revealed, it's not just Tim and Lou who are shaken. The entire family feels the shock. Over-the-shoulder shots show Amy and Ty reading the will, faceless POV angles capturing the trembling of pages in their hands. Text overlays emphasize key reactions: shocked, confused, heartbroken. Their movements tell the story, a finger tracing a line, a hand pressed to the chest, a slight step backward as the implications sink in. The audience can sense every heartbeat, every silent question. The camera cuts to an over-the-shoulder shot of the kitchen table. The envelope lies in the center like a silent provocateur, radiating tension. Amy leans in, pointing to a passage of Jack's instructions, while Ty steps back, shaking his head slowly. Facelessly, their body language conveys a mix of fear, anger, and helplessness. Text flashes on screen. Did Jack really mean this? Can the ranch survive this? Building suspense and making the audience question alongside them. Faceless flashbacks, interlaced briefly, glimpses of Jack's laughter in the barn, his hands smoothing over the horses' manes, a shadowed figure giving instructions in the past. The visuals create a haunting contrast between the warmth of memory and the cold shock of the present. The music swells subtly, punctuating the dissonance between past comfort and present chaos. The audience can feel that Jack's absence is felt more sharply now. As though his decisions echo through the empty spaces of the ranch, a faceless moment captures Ty and Amy standing near the barn door, gesturing urgently at one another. Their silhouettes convey heated discussion without a single visible word. Overlaid text highlights their concerns. We can't just follow this blindly, but who else is involved? This could ruin everything. Even without faces, the energy of conflict and confusion crackles through the scene. The ranch itself seems to shiver with the uncertainty, the horses shifting nervously as the family's emotional storm intensifies. Tim and Lou enter the room, facelessly facing the group. The tension spikes as they exchange body language that speaks volumes. Lou's shoulders tense defensively, Tim's stance rigid, hands slightly raised as if pleading for calm. The camera lingers on the envelope, now central to the story, the focal point of every anxious gaze. The music dips briefly, emphasizing the gravity of the silence that follows. A voiceover whispers, "The choices Jack made are more than words on paper. They are challenges to every bond, every trust in this family." The section closes with the family gathered, faceless and tense, the room heavy with unspoken arguments, and the envelope silently commanding attention. Text appears. The ranch is divided, loyalties tested, hearts on the edge. The suspense lingers, leaving viewers on edge and hungry to see how the conflict will escalate in the next section. The ranch feels smaller, almost suffocating, as Tim and Lou stand across from each other in the barn. Faceless, the camera captures every subtle gesture. Tim's hands clenched at his sides, Lou's fingers tapping nervously on the wooden railing. The envelope with Jack's will lies between them, almost glowing under the soft light. It's a silent symbol of the storm raging between them. There's a pause, heavy and electric. As if even the walls are holding their breath, Tim finally breaks the silence, his voice measured but tense, facelessly indicated by over-the-shoulder shots of his posture leaning slightly forward, shoulders tight. The words are sharp, questioning, and frustrated. How could Jack leave it like this? Do you understand what this means for us? Lou responds with a defensive stance, her arms crossed. Head tilted slightly down, but body leaning back just enough to convey both disbelief and frustration. Text overlays flash across the screen. Betrayal? Confusion? Fear of losing everything? Each word resonates with the unspoken turmoil. The camera shifts to close-ups of their faceless movements. Tim pacing a few steps, boots echoing against the barn floor. Lou shifting her weight, hands clenching at her sides. Even without visible expressions, the body language communicates anger, hurt, and fear. The horses in the background stir nervously, mirroring the tension that pulses through the room. A voiceover emphasizes the emotional stakes. This isn't just a letter. It's a challenge to their bond, a test of every unspoken promise they've made. Tim gestures sharply toward the envelope, a faceless yet powerful symbol of his frustration. Lou leans over slightly, pointing in return, a silent argument of physical expressions alone. Overlaid text captures their inner thoughts. Do you think this is fair? How could he choose anyone else? We can't let this destroy us. The dialogue is faceless, but the audience feels the heat, the anger, the hurt, and the love that underpins it all. The confrontation escalates. Tim takes a deep, shaky breath, running a hand through his hair, while Lou's shoulders tense, her body rigid, bracing herself for every word that will follow. Faceless shots of their silhouettes against the barn doors create a visual metaphor of emotional distance. To people separated not by space but by shock, grief, and confusion. Music swells in the background, a tense, rhythmic heartbeat that matches their rapid pulses. A moment of silence follows, almost unbearable. Tim finally lowers his hands slightly, the anger in his posture replaced by a mix of vulnerability and desperation. Lou's hands unclench, but her stance remains defensive. Text overlay. They are torn between love and loyalty, between family and the impossible choices of the past. The silence lets the weight of Jack's will sink even deeper, each breath heavy with the unspoken. This could break us, or it could make us stronger. The section ends with a faceless long shot of the two standing on opposite sides of the barn. The envelope still between them, the sun casting long shadows across the floor. The music fades into a low, suspenseful hum, leaving viewers tense, anticipating the fallout as the ranch braces for the next wave of conflict. Text appears. Will Heartland survive the storm Jack left behind? The news of Jack's will spreads through the ranch like wildfire, invisible yet impossible to ignore. Faceless, the camera follows the hands of Amy adjusting saddles. Ty leaning against the barn door, and other ranch workers exchanging hurried gestures and pointed glances. Even without seeing their faces, the tension is palpable. Horses shift nervously, hooves scraping against the barn floor, as though the ranch itself feels the storm rolling in. The wind whispers through the trees, carrying an almost audible sense of foreboding. A voiceover begins. Low and ominous. What was once a family united now trembles under the weight of one letter. Jack's choices aren't just his, they ripple through every corner of Heartland. Faceless shots show hands gripping fence rails, a chair being pushed back sharply and boots tapping impatiently on the wooden floor. Text overlays flash phrases like, trust broken, loyalties tested, the future uncertain. Each word underscores the silent chaos building across the ranch. Ty is seen pacing near the stable, gesturing sharply at an unseen figure. His body language is a mixture of disbelief and frustration. Amy's hands move swiftly as she organizes the tack, but every movement is edged with tension. Over-the-shoulder shots capture the way they lean in to speak to one another. Heads close, but faces obscured, emphasizing secrecy and anxiety. Even without dialogue, the scene conveys arguments, whispered concerns, and the simmering, emotional heat threatening to boil over. Suddenly, a crate topples in the corner of the barn, startling everyone nearby. The faceless camera captures the moment, focusing on the flinch of a hand, the quick step back, and the tense pause that follows. It's a physical metaphor for the instability spreading through Heartland. Every small action now feels amplified.
Every word heavy with consequence.
Text flashes on screen. No one knows who Jack trusted, or why. The suspense mounts with each second, leaving viewers on edge. The music rises subtly, tense rhythm echoing the pulse of uncertainty. Faceless silhouettes move through the barn. Tim stands near the doorway. Shoulders tense, hands slightly raised as if trying to mediate, while Lou leans against a railing, arms crossed, posture defensive but weary. Even the shadows tell a story of conflict, elongating across the floor as if the ranch itself is holding the weight of unspoken arguments. Voiceover continues. Every corner of the ranch feels the quake of Jack's decisions, and the ground beneath them feels unsteady. A brief montage shows faceless glimpses of ranch life disrupted, a rope swinging idle, a bucket tipped over, a horse pawing the ground nervously. These subtle visuals, paired with suspenseful music, reinforce the growing tension. Text overlays highlight key emotions: fear, anger, confusion, uncertainty. Each word resonates, even in the absence of faces, making the audience feel the intensity of the unraveling storm. The section closes with a wide, faceless shot of the entire barn. Everyone standing apart, some gesturing silently, others frozen in disbelief. The envelope remains in Tim and Lou's hands, the epicenter of the tension. The music fades to a low, suspenseful hum, leaving viewers anxious for the next confrontation. Text appears, the ranch is on edge, and nothing will ever be the same. The ranch falls into a heavy, uneasy silence. Faceless, the camera pans across the barn. Tim standing rigid near the envelope. Lou's posture tense and defensive, Amy and Ty just beyond, leaning toward each other in whispered discussion. The shadows stretch long across the floor, emphasizing the distance now felt between family members. Every movement is deliberate, every subtle gesture loaded with emotion, as if the weight of Jack's will has physically shifted the ranch itself. A voiceover begins. Low and suspenseful, Jack's choices were never just about land or legacy. They were about loyalty, love, and the family he knew he might never fully see. The camera focuses on the envelope one final time. Resting in the center of the table, almost glowing under the sunlight filtering through the barn's slats. Faceless close-ups show hands hovering over it, trembling, slightly hesitant to touch it again, as if daring fate itself to intervene. Tim finally steps back, running a hand through his hair, body language screaming frustration and despair. Lou's arms tighten across her chest, a subtle shake in her stance hinting at the conflict boiling just beneath the surface. Over-the-shoulder shots suggest whispered arguments, quiet but intense. Text overlays flash key thoughts on screen. What now? Who will get the ranch? Can we survive this? Each phrase hits like a drumbeat, heightening suspense and leaving the audience on edge. The camera shifts to the barn door, showing shadows of figures moving in the distance, faceless, mysterious, as if the wider ranch world is watching, waiting for the fallout. Horses stir uneasily, hooves scraping the floor, mirroring the tension among the humans. The music swells, then dips suddenly, creating a heartbeat-like rhythm that mirrors the uncertainty lingering over every character. A brief montage shows faceless glimpses of the ranch reacting, Ty pausing mid-step as if reconsidering his next move, Amy's hands tightening on a railing, Lou's silhouette shifting in frustration, and Tim standing, frozen, staring down at the envelope like it holds the answer to a question no one dared ask. Each movement conveys more than dialogue ever could, leaving the audience invested in every silent beat. The voiceover crescendos. Filled with dramatic weight, Jack's last will has set the ranch on fire. Old bonds will be tested, secrets will surface, and one question remains. Who will survive the storm? Text overlays echo the voiceover. Betrayal, loyalty, love. Heartland will never be the same. The camera lingers on the envelope, shadows stretching toward it, almost as if the paper itself is the epicenter of a coming earthquake. The final shot is a wide, faceless view of the ranch at sunset, long shadows stretching across the fields. The barn standing like a fortress holding the brewing storm. Music fades into a tense low hum. Text appears boldly on screen. Episode 3 is coming, and nothing will ever be the same. The cliffhanger is complete, leaving viewers desperate to know what happens next. Their imaginations racing with every unspoken argument, every secret yet to be revealed.